Hey there, Lake Grove Church. This is Pastor Mark McElraith here, and it is January 11th, which means we are on page 17 of our book, The Reservoir, as we go through that book for 2020. And today, I want to reflect a little bit on that text by asking ourselves a few questions. One is, when you think about God, what comes to your mind? You know, how we understand God is very, very important because we tend to emulate the one that we worship. I am reminded of my childhood. I have a cousin, his name is Scott, and he is about 8 years older than I am. So of course, as a kid, I idolized Scott. I thought he was the coolest thing ever, and I wanted to be just like him. I virtually worshipped him, really. You know, he lived in Texas, and so he had this Texan accent. I so badly wish I had a Texas accent when I was a kid. He rode a dirt bike. Oh man, I thought it was the coolest thing to have a dirt bike. I really wanted that. I wanted to be just like my cousin Scott. We would go as a family and visit our relatives in Texas, and I just loved hanging out with him. I thought he was the greatest thing. I idolized him, basically, and and because of that, it started shaping who I was. It started shaping who I was becoming. I wanted a cowboy hat. I wanted the cowboy boots. I wanted his Texas accent. I wanted to just be just like him with that dirt bike, and it just seemed so great. I laugh thinking about that now, but I wonder, maybe as a kid, maybe you idolized somebody. So you know what that's like to really think somebody is so great, and you adore that person and idolize them, and you want to just become like that person. Well, that's what Scott was like to me. And that really reflects what our relationship with God might look like. You know, how we understand God is a very, very important thing. Who we understand God to be is very important, because who we worship and who we adore actually shapes who we become. So we are looking at Psalm 136 today. And as you see, Psalm 136, it's a psalm that praises and worships God for all that God has done. And you'll see that after each line is a repetitive phrase. After each phrase of what God has done, then this theme comes back again. The theme in Hebrew is Chazdo Olam. That's what it says. God does something wonderful, and then the response is Chazdo Olam. And our text translates Chazdo Olam as His steadfast love endures forever. Chazdo Olam. God's steadfast love endures forever. And this psalm would be sung. As you know, most psalms were sung. That's what they were written for. And so I can imagine in between the soloist singing these words, reciting all of God's deeds, that the entire congregation would jump in after each statement and sing together, Chazdo Olam. They shaped who they were. They were being shaped by the words Chazdo Olam, because that's who they knew God to be. The God that they worshipped and the God that they adored is the God of Chazdo Olam, whose steadfast love endures forever. See, how we understand God shapes who we are, because that's the God that we worship and that we adore. In Psalm 136, in all things, God shows His steadfast love for us. It lists what God has done, and then it says, God's steadfast love endures forever. See, that's the God that we worship. And if that is the God that we worship, then that's the kind of people that we become. We become loving and caring and steadfast. Chazdo Olam. And frankly, that's the kind of people that this world needs, doesn't it? And of course, that's the kind of God that this world needs as well. So I would encourage us today, let's just, after you see this video, I encourage you to go back and read Psalm 136 one more time. And as you do that, I encourage you to ask God to help you to reimagine and even deepen your picture of God, your understanding of this God that you worship. After all, Chazdo Olam, God's steadfast love, endures forever. And so let's let that love shape who we are. Amen.